so good to see you. And thank you for coming back to Australia.
Oh, I'm so chuffed. So chuffed. Can't
Yeah.
believe it. I'm so excited.
It's been a while. I remember seeing you back in 2003, I think it was, but I was actually overseas in 2016, I think the last time you came over.
Yeah, the last time we were with Howard Jones, I think that was
Yeah.
in 2016. And then before that we were with Nick Kershaw in 2013.
Yeah, no,
Both both really wonderful tours actually, and it's been a long time,
it
hasn't it?
has. Yeah, it's always great to see you. I was the last person I actually spoke to who I was talking about. He was James Stevenson.
Oh, lovely, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure how we got around to it. I was talking to him about I think he had a solo album out, and he
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
playing on your first album, which was something I never knew at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah, and
guess,
we hung out a lot during the first part of my career, and we share a lot of great memories. Yeah,
yeah, a great, lovely guy, great musician. He went on to obviously be
yeah,
in Gene Loves Jezebel, which were
yeah.
another one of my favorites. Um,
Hmm.
you come from a very musical family. I normally ask people about how they came into music and how then became a career. But I think it's probably a bit obvious in your case that your dad was a great, well, my mum's a huge fan of his work, and I must admit, at the time when I was out there buying your first album with my own money,
Thank you.
I never realised that your dad and your brother had um, written a lot of the songs on that album, and the first few indeed. Was it inescapable that you became a musician?
I don't know. I get asked that question a lot, and I think it's a good question, but I don't really know the answer to it as the answer
No.
because I can't go back and have a different dad and see how
Yeah,
my life turned out. But at the same time, I do know that as a very small child, music hit me in a very powerful way, and I think in a much more powerful way than my friends remember it hitting them. I mean, I've got friends the same age as me. Music didn't hit them the same way it hit me. They like music a lot and it's in their life, but it completely consumed me as a as a small 7, 8 year old child. Now, obviously, there was a lot of music around, so that had a huge amount to do with it. But the fact that I was still doing it for 40 years and that it's still the big passion and I still get really excited about hearing a great track. I don't know what's inevitable about that, really. I do have a feeling that we are born to be who we are for whatever reason, and I do believe that I was born to be in music.
yeah. It's it's wonderful. When did you first realize though you had the talent? I mean, music obviously was all around, but did you start singing? Did you start
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
the first time that you actually thought, yeah, actually, this is me?
Well, I mean, obviously, when Kids in America came out, I kind of realized very quickly that I'd fallen on my feet in a most incredible way. I was only 20, I was just 21, and I had this amazing pop record that had been written by my brother and my dad,
Yeah,
and they were continuing to write great songs. I mean, my dad was only 40 at the time. He was such a young parent. Um, so he was grooving around, writing these great tracks with Ricky, while I was out being, the ambassador to it all and traveling the world and doing interviews like I'm doing with you now. Um, I mean, I realized pretty quickly that that my life was about to take off and music was going to be it was all going to be about music. But actually for the first few years my music was my life was much more about promotion and videos and interviews and photo shoots and it became a lot about image, and there were lots of times within that I did get pretty disillusioned But the one thing that kept me going was the music, and that's where I really focused on my own songwriting. And then in the next few albums that progressed from the first one, I sort of got more involved as a writer, and that's when I think that's when really felt I belonged, because I felt I had paid my subscription to join up in the music industry as a songwriter as well as a performer.
Yeah, I think for me it was another step. That was the album that things sort of seemed to change a bit. There's a bit more guitar and a bit less pop on that album.
Yeah,
I think that's probably still my favorite album of yours. I don't know how you feel. I mean, there's a lot of albums out there, but I've loved
yeah.
everything from that, I think, to the covers album a few years ago. There was some well chosen songs on that as well. I mean,
Yeah, there were a few that didn't work so well too, but
yeah.
there's some ones on there that really did great. And my two of my favorites from the Snapshots album are Respect, which is just a great pop song, but it's just a great song. When you play that, when you play that live with an audience, they go absolutely crazy. Um, and Andy Bell, who originally recorded the song, let me know personally that he loved my version of it, and that meant a lot to me. And then the other was to France. I
Mm.
just love Mike Oldfield. I've always been a huge Mike Oldfield fan. I mean, I still listen to Omadhawn every time I get in the bath. I mean, it's the only album that I have to say, of all the albums that I listen to, Omadhawn is the album I listen to most all the time.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. He's actually over here soon, so he's doing his Tubular Bells thing. But that's
Wonderful.
always been an album I've loved as well. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I actually love
Yeah.
the Cars song that you did on there as well. The Buzzcocks, I thought was a great version
Yeah, yeah.
of that
Yeah, it
song.
was fun. It was really fun to do. And then, of course, I did Anyone Who Had a Heart, which
Mm.
was a song I heard as an 8-year-old in 1968 by Cilla Black. I remember it had a very powerful impact on me at that time. I just remember loving the way Cilla sang it. Um, and it was recorded also by another artist who was deemed to be a much better singer. Who was it? It was Dionne Warwick, not Dionne Warwick, someone else. Anyway, but Cilla, who was an unlikely candidate for singing a huge, beautiful ballad like that, I think, just absolutely d delivered like magnificently. And I still, when I hear her sing it, makes my hairs go up on my
Yeah,
skin.
it's one of those songs I love. I also love well, I've always loved Motown, and you do one of my favorite Motown songs that I think you're sort of quite well known for in these parts down under.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, keep me hanging on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, what a great song. And then we had a telemessage at that time from Lamont Dozier thanking us for making it a hit for him, and I have it on my desk right here. And,
wow.
it's just amazing to me as a child, growing up with Motown. I loved rock and roll and I loved pop, but I love Motown. It was a great time to grow up in the 60s, and just all of that music. You have the Beatles and you'd have the Ronettes. You just have all this incredible music filtering through the 60s, and then you hit the 70s, and then the whole thing gets ramped up, and you get T-Rex and you get Mark Bolan, you get Bowie, and you get glam, and you get prog, and you get soul, and you get funk, and you get just everything. And then that kind of, and then to top it all, you get punk.
Mm.
um, and then with all of that super fantastic, that fantastic mix of absolute, crazy music, we started the 80s with all of that in our heads and our hearts.
Yeah, and we wonder why the 80s music sounded so fantastic, and you've
Yeah,
summed it up perfectly there, I think. Then it all sort of stops, doesn't it, after after the end of the 90s,
yeah.
at least.
I think, yeah, it seemed to kind of run out of steam, I think. a little bit. I mean, and it's not like the 90s were crap at all. There was some amazing stuff happening in it, but I do think that pop kind of, yeah, I think it just sort of ran out of steam a little bit in the 90s. It
Yeah.
did.
It did. It did. You were over in October. Wonderful string of shows. I'm actually quite lucky because I'm going to get to see you in Perth, and then I'll actually be in Melbourne when you play the final show. So I'm going to see if I can catch you on that one as well, which would be so cool. But we've got a radio show that goes out on Thursdays, and I just would love you to be part of our next edition. So next Thursday, there's a couple of songs we ask everyone we have on the show, and then we play a couple of your songs. So I wondered if you'd be able to answer those questions for us, and then just do a little shout out for the radio station.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
First question we ask is, and this one I'm loving to hear the answer to, is if you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of any album in the history of rock and roll, what do you love to have been there on the studio wall for watching being made?
Wow. 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 The times we've had that conversation, like with the times we said, oh wow, wouldn't it have been amazing to be in the studio and watch that happen? I mean, obviously, I would love to have been at Sun and watched Elvis Presley
Yeah,
rock up right at the beginning of his career and just belt out those incredible tunes. I would have loved to have watched him, that beautiful man and that beautiful voice, um, creating rock and roll from, yeah, I would have to say, yeah, the Sun Studios watching Elvis Presley, I think.
yeah. I
Playing
mean, there's so many great
album.
men.
What was that album that he did? It was my dad's favorite album, and it was the first one that I think he released in the UK back in the late 50s. And then the Clash kind of appropriated it for London Calling. So you know which album sleeve I'm talking about.
I know the album Sleeve. I just can't remember the albums. So many albums.
So the Clash, mind you, I would have loved to have been in the studio watching um Ian Dury do New Boots and Panties. That would have been
Oh,
great.
Blockheads. Yeah, that would have been fantastic.
That would have been great. Or any of the Elvis Costello and the Attractions. I'd like to have watched all of them knocking out, some of those great early albums that Elvis had. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Love Declan is a great guy and a lovely guy
Yeah.
as well.
A lovely man. Yeah, a lovely man.
And we always ask the easy question last, which is, what is the meaning of life?
Ah, crikey. Well, it sounds really worn out, really, but it's enjoying the passing of time. So it's really about doing that, about being in the moment, which is actually a bit of a mantra these days. Everyone go, oh, we're living in the moment, living in the now, but it's quite hard to do. But I've got really quite good at doing it these days, and I've become incredibly happy as a result. So yeah, I think it's just really living in the moment, fully being in there, and not thinking about the past too much or worrying about the future too much. Just really grab that moment while it's happening.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an answer close to my heart. I think you've got to do what you love, but it's all about the journey. So let's take it there. We're 15 years old this year, the Rockpit. And we'd love to play a couple of these songs on there. We have to play Kids in America because
Yeah,
it's just so iconic. I always remember people say they know where they were at certain moments. I know
yeah.
exactly where I was first time I heard Kids in America, and I was in W.H. Smith's, and I had to go out and immediately buy the album. In the days when vinyl didn't cost quite as much as it does these days.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
we wondered if you'd be able to introduce that song and also any song of your choice. And all you need to say for us is that you're listening to the rock pit. So
Oh,
we're like
okay.
a rock pit like a plane cockpit.
Okay, yeah. Um, right. Hi. This is Kim Wilde here on the Rockpit, and this is the first single I ever released, and it was a very long time ago. And people still seem to love it, and I'll be singing it on the tour. I'm coming to Australia in October, and it's Kids in America.
Thank you so much for that. There's also, I love your choice of a song that you've done from anywhere in your career. Ideally, I'd love it to be something that you're going to be playing for us when you come over as well. Um,
Okay.
Not revealing too much about the set list, but
Okay.
anything you
Right.
like.
Okay. Hi, you're listening to The Rock Pit, and this is Kim Wilde here, and I'm going to be in Australia soon, which we're very stoked about, in October. And this is one of the songs we're going to sing. It's from my Close album from 1988, and it's one of my favorite singles that I've ever released, actually. It's called Never Trust a Stranger.
No, fantastic. I'm glad you're playing that one. With an album with sorry, a career with so many albums out there, it must be hard to put together a set list. How do you approach something like that?
Well, the tour I'm doing in October is a greatest hits, so
Yeah.
that kind of narrows it down considerably.
Yeah.
And then, and I've had a number of those, and there's not all of them that make it, but the big ones will, and that's the main thing. So pretty much anyone who, even if they never bought a Kim Wilde album, could come to the gig, and they would probably know the songs, and it would bring some great memories for them. So it's a very accessible, loud show. I've got an amazing band who really do rock up, two fantastic guitarists who just let rip. Um, and my brother's in the band, who's a writer and my writer and producer, and his daughter Scarlett, she's my backing singer. My drum is just incredible, Johnny A. So we've got a dream team ready to rock.
Fantastic. Here Come the Aliens, your last album I loved, and it like had some fantastic songs on there. And it was lovely to see, and you mentioned the name of other family members who've got involved over the years as well. Is everyone in your family musical?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. It's my both my kids are totally into music. My son's in a band called Wonder Horse, which who you may have heard, but if you
Yeah.
haven't, then check them out. Um, and yeah, and then my niece, of course, and then every member of the family loves music, whether they're involved directly or not. It's a wonderful companion in life to love music. It's something you can it's a great communicator, and it's a wonderful thing to talk about. I mean, look at you and I, we're having a great chat, and we could probably chat here for hours about music and albums that we love. And it's a wonderful way to bond people together. And that's what I love about playing live. There is a connection that happens. It is really special, and it's why people love live music and go to festivals. There's some magic that happens, and it's irresistible. It's why my dad's still performing now. He doesn't have to, but he does at 85. I mean,
Wow.
it's crazy.
It,
Yeah, he still drives himself to the gig, still gets and does the gig, drives himself home. I mean, that's passion for you.
it is, and I think it's musical. I can, and I've never been able to understand people who don't love music because it's always been such an important part of my life, and it's always helped me when I've been feeling down. I can instantly play a song,
Yeah.
and it will just lift my mood.
So
I
what's your favorite album? What's your all-time favorite album? Or like it's up there with, your top 10, but one that just goes instantly, you go, yeah, that's the one.
As far as albums, I'm not really sure because there's just so many. But
Yeah.
I can tell you my favorite song of all time is the Isley Brothers version of This Old Heart of Mine. It's a song.
Okay.
No matter what happens, I can put that song on, and I'm instantly. I don't know. I'm instantly somewhere else. It's just
Yeah.
transports me somewhere else. But as
Yeah.
far as albums go, I don't know. I come back to those songs of well, like when I albums of when I was a kid. Like the
Yeah.
first albums I bought, I worked out. I used to keep a diary, and I went through all my diaries when I was young, and I worked out that your album was actually the sixth album I ever bought with my own money.
Oh, that's so lovely.
But
I'm so, oh, thank
but
you.
The first one was uh, Plastic Letters by Blondie
Okay, yeah, of
and
course.
Love It to Death by Alice Cooper. So it's like all over the place. But
Well, I
yeah,
got to tour with Alice Cooper, which was one of the great moments of my career. I did a tour with him and an orchestra over in Germany, and we were on tour for several weeks. And then I went on stage with him to do Schools Out. I think it was right at the end of Schools Out, and he goes a bit crazy there. I mean, and this is a non-drinker. You know, obviously he was a real rabble-rouse back in the day, and God knows what he didn't do. But now he just practices his golf swing before he goes on stage. And then yeah, so Schools Out, I think we was what was that was we singing Schools Out, yeah. And oh no, anyway, it was one of his big hits. So he grabbed me by the scruff of my hair at one point. I was like singing with him, and he just grabbed me and like threw me across the stage in a theatrical way. He didn't hurt me, but it was just like, wow, Alice Cooper grabbed me by the hair.
must have been crazy. I've got a picture of me with Alice at one point where he's grabbing me by the throat. So I sort of know how you feel.
Oh,
We
well, there you go. You've been attacked. You've been yeah, physically molested by Alice Cooper. It's a
yeah,
wonderful thing.
it is, because we're here in Perth, and there's a particular golf course over here that he loves. So last time he came over, we procured some golf clubs for members of his band to
Oh,
play. And because they played
yeah.
so badly against him, they blamed the golf clubs, sadly. So, but that's wonderful. Yeah, you must have hundreds of moments like that throughout your
I
career.
have.
That just
I've got beautiful moments. I mean, that moment when Lemmy came and kissed me on the back of my head while I was watching Kirsty McCullough and another German TV. He was trying to get me drunk in his dressing room and with vodka. And I was quite young at the time, and the woman who was traveling with me from the record company was hovering, really irritating him, actually irritating me as well, because I just thought, for God's sake, do I really need a babysitter? Why don't you just let me hang out and get drunk with Lemmy?
oh wow, what a legend! Yeah, used to be a kid. Used to go and see them play at Rock City in Nottingham, and he would always
Yeah,
come out and talk to the kids who were sort of like
yeah,
waiting around, hanging around to see him at the end. Lovely guy.
yeah.
I could talk all day to you. You were absolutely right. John didn't tell us though how long we had. We just had 20 minutes, was it?
I think so. Yeah, I've got an 8:15 here with someone, so I
Oh
guess
dear. We
I
better
better go.
we better call it a day. I'm so sorry for blowing that out. I hate doing that.
Uh,
Thank you so much for your time, Kim. If you don't mind, there's one final thing I'd love to ask you.
yeah.
Um, could you just say happy birthday to us? We're 15 years old this year, and we're putting together a compilation of everyone we speak to in 2024. So
Okay.
the Rockpit's 15.
Okay. Hi, hi there. It's Kim Wilde here, and the Rock Pit is 15 years old. How fantastic! Just keep rocking hard, guys. You know, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much for your time, and I do apologize sincerely for going over.
No worries. It's been fun
Thank-
talking. Fun
Thanks, Kim.
talking to you.
Take
Bye,
care.
Mark.
Bye.
Love.